Hello, everyone. We got Shemaz. I hope everyone is very well today. You all. Let me begin by reading number 6 of Toy Sensei's 13 Rules for Instructors. We should avoid conceit. Conceit not only stops our progress, but also causes regression. The universe is infinite and its principles are deep. Why does conceit manifest in us? We should know that conceit is a cheap compromise with ourself, the result of a shallow mind. So the result of a shallow mind. So I think that conceit is too often thought of as a weakness in a very accomplished person. Someone who is very creative, maybe famous, wealthy, influential, beautiful to look at, something very special about this person. And this person gets conceited about it, like they're vain and especially think they're the source of everything beautiful. This is the way we think of it in this culture. But I'd like to suggest conceit is in every one of us and is much more active than we might imagine. For instance, when we choose not to sit in the morning, then I would suggest we are a victim of conceit. And I'll try to make clear why I think that or why I see it that way. I think that when Toy Sensei likes to describe us as a likening to an iceberg. And just like an iceberg, the part that we see about ourselves, excuse me, that is the tip of the iceberg, which sticks up out of the water. But everyone knows that an iceberg is gigantic and most of it is hanging way below the water. So he is inferring by that the source of, or the most of ourselves, we could say the universal part of ourselves, is that which is hidden beneath the water. But except in our case, it's not huge. It's infinite. So, and out of this infinity comes this creative spirit or creative muse or creative ability, which if you're a teacher or even if you're any kind of an artist, a skilled person in any way, we talked about this last week, then you're able to, it means you're able to manifest shugyo, manifest a freedom from limitation. And so the big question is, where does this come from and how do we access it? And are we really being honest with ourselves when we think to ourselves in the morning, well, I'm not so bad. I think I'm okay. I'll make it through another day. I don't have to really sit this morning. I can do without that. This is what I'm talking about as conceit. Because it means I don't really have to make the connection with the source of my being, alive. And not just alive, but excellent and useful human being. Where does this usefulness come from? Where does all creativity rise from? Well, maybe we can't put a word to it. We say universality or spirit. Some people say God. But that's just because we can't know it directly. we only see the manifestation of it within us, and which is a feeling that further manifests, as Toy Sensor says, as creativity or as a usefulness in daily life. It's not limited to artists in any way. For every single one of us, we have a use, and that use is anchored in universality. It's not anchored in our small self. Our small self is the one that often takes credit for it, or almost always takes credit for it. And this is what I'm calling conceit. The conceit of being someone who is the source of what you see here or there. Okay, I think that's best left for that. This is a meditation class. I will say that. I will remind us. This is a meditation, keep breathing meditation class. And this is the time that we not just make contact with the universal, but this is when we give our allegiance to and honor and call out openly. Simply by attending this class, we're calling out openly our recognition that our small self is not everything. Okay, let's do some deep breathing. Most dictionaries define the opposite of conceit as humility. Or you might be shy and modest, or maybe intimidated by those that have more power or strength. But that doesn't make you having humility. Humility is very expensive. I mean by that, it takes tremendous amount of time and attention to remain in the state of inquiry, to remain in a state of examining the nature of the source of being. We are beings. As Toy Sensei says, when you abide in this state of examination, of knowing that which cannot be known, of listening completely. So this is like, you feel like the universe is you and you are the universe. I think he says in Keep Breathing. But it's whenever we are in this kind of attentive state where our capacity to receive is complete. Well, maybe not complete, but as complete as possible. And then as we, of course, this is, in the beginning just happens little bits. But as we practice longer and longer and spend more, I said it was very expensive, spend more and more of this time and attention, it begins to become what we call abiding or abiding meditation. Nirvikalpa Samadhi, they call it in India, when you're in this state of inquiry. most of the time. So this, I would say, okay, this is being in a state of humility, but it's still not, it doesn't make us free of conceit. It doesn't make us say, okay, I've got it now. I'm free of being full of myself. Because that little self that's full of itself is constantly present and constantly waiting for an opportunity to reassert itself in our life. So this practice is very important that we keep doing this all the time. Okay, so please say something for me. Ask a question or make a comment about conceit and humility. Lynn Curtis.
Sensei, and good morning, good evening, everybody. Yes, thank you for this, for this teaching. It just really brought home to me, once again, the brilliance of and the depth of Tohei Sensei's teaching, and just how, I mean, when you first told me this morning, oh yeah, it's about conceit, and my Western mind automatically goes, yeah, don't be bashful, don't be this, so superficial, and it's just so touching to wake up to, like I said, the depth of Tohei Sensei's teaching. And a million times I've heard, that in Shokushu, where, the universe is you and you are the universe. And I just feel so pierced by it.
Yeah, thank you very much. Thank you. That's very nice. Yeah, when you say Tohei Sensei's teaching, it's you know, Tohei Sensei. There's nothing original, of course. It's the teaching. It's the teaching. It came from infinitely before Tohei Sensei was born and will continue infinitely after. We are very fortunate that he took the time and spent the attention to receive this and be able to put it into words for us, so that we at least have this reference to work with and be inspired by and feel, really, at least in my case, I feel compelled because of the beauty of his teaching to follow and discover, to inquire into, and discover for myself the nature of this teaching. And that's what every teacher wants, is for each of you to discover the teaching, not the teacher, for yourself, so that you can have this same experience. It's all very simple. It's just about paying attention. And it's very, very difficult. That's why I say very, very expensive for us to do this. But very, very necessary and completely rewarding, in the sense that we get to see how things are. Well, thank you. Okay, so someone else, please express yourself.
Hello, Sensei.
Hello, Vernon.
I was intrigued about the word of inquiry. As Is it the same as curiosity?
I would say curiosity is a very mild form of inquiry. No, curiosity is like wondering what if. And inquiry is like going directly into what if or what is. An inquiry is listening very, very deeply. You know, here's the wonderful thing about inquiry. It's not like inquiring into contemplating a logical positivism, for instance. It's not like trying to figure something out scientifically or in physics or in mathematics. It's not the same as that. Inquiry is standing directly before that which cannot be known and inquiring into it. See, it's very different than expecting an answer. The answer is in the inquiry itself. The answer is the inquiry. Can you get that? Isn't that amazing to consider? That we're really being asked to stand in complete emptiness with complete satisfaction and patience. And never know, never be rewarded with knowing something about it. And learning really that this not knowing is so much more powerful than knowing.
It does have a very deep meaning for that word of inquiry, as you say, compared to that other word of curiosity and other.
Right. Thank you very much. Very interesting point. Okay, someone else, please. We have a little time.
Good morning, Sensei. This is Fincher.
Hello, Fincher.
I know Tohei Sensei didn't write this in English, but the choice of words is very interesting. In the first sentence, you should avoid conceit, and it doesn't say you shouldn't be conceited. So I'm wondering if you could maybe explain a little bit more about the character of this of this.
Of conceit.
No, what's said you should avoid.
I think that's a really good question. We are all conceited. No one is not conceited. In other words, no one does not fall short of perfection. Everyone has conceit, but you should avoid it at all costs. In other words, turning away from that which is conceit, which is accepting, he says, that compromise with self, you know, that cheaply bought compromise with self, avoiding that sense of, well, I'm really okay. I don't really have to sit this morning. I've made it this far. I'm going to be fine. Yeah, big surprise at the moment of death. Big surprise. So that conceit simply is a form of ignoring or ignorance. So avoid ignorance. Avoid ignoring. In other words, pay attention. Spend the time and spend the money. Spend the attention that it takes to inquire into, to stand in the face of, with humility, that which is what we truly are, full of the vast universe and empty of any characteristics all at the same time. So, well, that's the way it appears to me anyway.
Thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much. Anyone, anyone, anyone? Say anything you like.
Morning, Sensei.
Carlos, I knew it was you.
Yeah, well, so my struggle with all this is it's the pull, the undertow, this pull of the small mind is so strong, and it just seems like I'm expecting some switch to go off and that pull to not be there in that kind of way. This kind of what you're talking about, it's not so much with the morning sitting, but the rest of the day is still full of distraction and things that grab my attention, that suck me in, and then I'm gone.
I think that, can I say something about that? My dad told me when I was little, he would say over and over again, Chris, don't forget, everything is gray. Nothing is black or white. Everything is a state of grayness. And I didn't really get, of course, what he was saying when I was little, but I remember him saying it to me all the time. Don't say it's this or that. Wait and find out. My dad was really into science. He really loved the idea of not ever deciding on something. And this, to me, is the, let's see, it seems to me the answer to that question you're having there, or that feeling of, oh my God, it's so much that isn't spent, so much time not spent, in inquiry. And yet, I talked about abiding meditation or abiding inquiry. And this is when we see that nothing is decided. Nothing has been determined. Every moment is one is expressing one infinitely small aspect of infinity. There's no black or white. There's no brown or green, or everything is an aspect of. And from that, I immediately feel like I'm standing in front of an infinity. The infinity means all possibility without end. There's no size to it, small or large. There's no color to it, green or white. There's no aspect of it. It's without characteristic. And our constant effort to qualify it, to determine it, to define it, to pin it down and give it meaning as if it had no meaning, without our confirming meaning on it. I mean, this is infinite ignorance. This is infinite foolishness. But it's okay because it's infinite. And so is this discussion. So this has been a real pleasure for me today. I thank you very much. I want to let you know that next Sunday will be our final class for this year. And we will resume again on January 15th, Sunday, January 15th. So I will see you next Sunday, and we will look at this infinity one more time. Domo arigatou gozaimashita. Thank you for joining.